1 second, guys. I gotta figure this thing out. Get the flight.
Watch out, vehicle on shoulder ahead.
Rotation is not one. It's not letting me flip it. Alright. So we're gonna go this way. Oh, alright, let's try this. Alright, try to get it landscape, but it won't work. So, remember guys, all the questions put into the live chat. Don't put them in the comments. And let me know if you can hear me okay. I don't have the mic hooked up because I have the phone plugged in because last time it died. But what's going on here? So like I explained yesterday, I got a long drive ahead of me. So if the stream's a little bumpy, I apologize. Kind of driving through a busier city at the moment. Just hopefully the traffic will die down and I can check the screen here. So go ahead, anybody with any questions, you can hear me loud and clear. Good. Might be a little bit of a drone
Watch out, vehicle on shoulder
from a
ahead.
military truck. And I'm just going to go through the questions one by one. Let's see. This isn't the safest thing in the world, but I live life on the edge. Alright, so first question is, what are your thoughts on overcoming isometrics on them? Example, wrapping... Jesus Christ, it's fucking road. Wrapping a rope around an immovable object like a telephone pole and using much energy. Isometrics can... Isometrics are effective. Just, it's kind of tough to progressively overload them. I mean, it's tough to reach muscle failure on isometrics unless you really know what you're doing. And also, you know, if you have a trainer or somebody who can push you really towards your limits, then it'll be more effective. I don't recommend using isometrics if you want to develop an optimal physique. Absolutely not. You could do body weight exercises just as easily as isometrics. I don't know why you would choose isometrics. I mean, I guess if you're like stuck in a prison cell or something, but most of you, I mean, I would almost assume that you have access to almost everything that's readily available, especially, you know, equipment, dumbbells. There's really no need to be doing isometrics only, especially if you want optimal results. I don't think you're going to be able to perform isometrics effectively enough and progressively enough to get optimal results. That's why we use tools. That's why we use tools like machines or free weights. They're tools that allow us to fatigue our muscles more effectively and efficiently and be able to measure our progress. So basically when it comes to isometrics, you could change the joint angle to make it a little harder depending on what you do. You can't progressively overload them, really. You just got to keep going for a longer time under load. So again, it's not ideal. It's useful, but it's not ideal. I put isometrics in with just regular dynamic exercise. And incorporate them in there. I wouldn't do a workout that's all isometrics unless you really know what you're doing. All right, question 2. The hit concept is pretty straightforward and logical. What is the bigger difference between the Dorian Yates way, Mentor's way, and yours? The difference is I just perform. My form is better. Mentor's form wasn't very good, and neither was Dorian Yates. But again, look at Dorian Yates. He's got a torn biceps and a torn triceps. And that is because his repetition speed wasn't very good. It was way too fast. And he didn't perform the exercises as well. So again, like, you know, repetition, cadence, and speed, and range of motion, and all that stuff. At the end of the day, your genetics are going to dictate your physique development. None of those things have an influence on your physique development, but they play a huge role in the wear and tear down the road. So Dorian Yates obviously developed an awesome physique, but, you know, he tore 2 muscles on the way. And I've never had an injury. So that's the difference. And Mike Menser, I don't believe Mike Menser got injured, but he stopped bodybuilding kind of soon. But basically, it's the same principles. It's just Dorian Yates, his form isn't very good, and neither is Mike Menser's. My right lat is bigger than my left delt. What? Doesn't make any sense. Why are you comparing a lat to a delt? Yeah, your right lat is bigger than your left delt. So, all right, well, I'm just going to address that question anyway, even though it doesn't make any sense. To even out muscle imbalances, watch your form, because it's probably a breakdown in form that is resulting in that. Or it could be your genetics. You could have a larger muscle belly on one side than the other, like the biceps, for instance, or the triceps, or the calves. It's, you know, it's uncommon to have a significant difference in muscle belly length, you know, say your left bicep versus your right biceps. But, you know, it's possible. To even them out, just continue to train. And if you're training with adequate intensity and good form, they're going to even out over time. A lot of the reason you develop these imbalances is because you're doing something wrong with your form. So you'd have to be okay. So your right lat is bigger than your left lat. Look at your shoulder position when you're doing a pull down or a chin up. You want to keep your shoulders depressed. So you could have one that's raised. Or sometimes, and a lot of this happens a lot of times. So if, you know, say your right lat is smaller than your left lat, but you're right-handed, and your right biceps is bigger than your left biceps. So you have a bigger right biceps and a smaller right lat, a smaller left biceps, a bigger left lat. And that's how the muscles developed, because you have a stronger right arm, the lat didn't have to work as hard. You had a weaker left arm, the lat had to work harder. That's generally why that happens. But again, with adequate intensity and good form over time, they should even out. They should be pretty much unnoticeable to the naked eye. What are your thoughts on hydrochloride creatine and amino acid liquid? I don't even know what either of those are. I can't really. Currently on hydrochloride creatine rather than creatine monohydrate, I'm guessing, and it's a bit better because it does give me that bloated feeling where water is being held. Does it not give you the bloated feeling, or give you the bloated feeling? Like, if you like the bloated feeling. Creatine does cause you to hold more water. So it kind of gives you the illusion. Well, not the illusion, but it kind of gives you an illusion that you've gotten bigger, but just kind of holding more water. So you'll notice you'll gain weight kind of quickly with creatine because you're holding more water. doesn't. Okay. Because it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, whatever works for you. I guess one of the downsides or one of the upsides of creatine is you hold water. I haven't noticed any weight gain myself with creatine, but then again, my weight doesn't change, honestly, no matter what I do. So, but what I had noticed with creatine, again, I like creatine just because of the clinical benefits and long-term benefits behind it. I mean, in terms of a bodybuilding supplement, it's whatever, but I've noticed I've noticed better workouts since taking it, for sure, because everything else has remained relatively equal. Could be placebo, but again, placebo, still works. All right, let's see. How to start training with seniors with a weak body, the most efficient and safe way. Someone who never did exercise properly. I would start them off with seniors. They don't need much at all to get stronger because they are like so barely above the threshold of like being so weak that they'll die. That so little resistance training. Even in the beginning, for the first couple months, you wouldn't even need to take them to failure. You just need to give them something and they're going to shoot right up because their physical capacity is so low. So with seniors, I just have them do like 5 exercises, really slow and close to failure. And then very slowly over time, I push them a little further and a little further and a little further closer to failure. Many of them won't even go to failure. And again, with seniors, have them move as slow as they can. Like, I wouldn't put them on a super slow cadence and, dictate that they do a 10-10 cadence. I would, however, coach them on moving slow as they can while still being able to work their muscles hard. I wouldn't have them doing anything faster than a 5.5. And a lot of statics. I trained, that's the thing you'll notice if you are an instructor and you do like a private studio, a lot of the people you're going to get are older, 60 and up, 65 and up. Some are delicate, and you'll notice that, it's like taking somebody who's been stuck in the winter, in the dark, all winter with no sunlight, and then throwing them in South Florida. Like, it's going to take very little sunlight for their skin to respond. Just like an old person, it's going to take very little exercise for the body to respond. So you want to be very careful with the volume. Frequency, also very careful with the frequency. And the intensity of effort, too. They don't need a tremendous intensity of effort in the beginning. Probably not at all. A lot of times with seniors, you'll get them, like, they're barely above the threshold of being too weak to even survive. So, I've had people that are that weak. But, your job is to, like, get them a little stronger and to keep them up here. They're not going to be the strongest they were, like, in their 40s or 50s, or obviously their 30s. But your job is to make sure they don't get any weaker, or if they are getting weaker, to drastically slow it down. You're not going to make them, a superhuman, for sure. But, I wouldn't go too intense with them in the beginning, especially because, they're not going to want to do it. Plus, they don't really need it. And then be very conservative with the volume and frequency. And just have them move slow. Pretty much it. Let's see, to seniors. It says, how would you train elderly individuals who need a low back strengthening but do not have access to lower back extension? What I would do with them is, well, first of all, if you just give them basic multi-joint movements and make them stronger overall, the reason their lower back hurts is because they have sustained muscular atrophy as a whole, as a unit. So this is what I explain to my clients. When you get older, and you don't eat well, and you don't exercise, and you get older, your muscles are going to shrink and get weaker all over. People tend to notice the ones that produce pain when they get weaker. So it's not that anything having to do with being old produces back pain. It's just that they have atrophied enough over time to where the multifidus muscles, the multifidi muscles which align the vertebrae, have atrophied and gotten so weak that they produce too much pressure in between the vertebrae on the disc. And then this causes the disc to kind of protrude out and touch the sensitive nerves and produce back pain. And it all has to do with muscle atrophy in the multifidus or muscle atrophy overall. So it's not that, so with that said, making them stronger overall, just the basic multi-joint workout or exercises adjusting or addressing all the major muscle groups in the body, their lower back and their abdominals are going to get stronger indirectly. You may not even need additional work for the lower back. I provide additional work for the lower back because it's another really good selling point and people enjoy it and it feels good. But if you want to give them a little bit more additional work for the lower back, just have them do what's called a McKenzie exercise at the end of the workout and just kind of go through a McKenzie protocol and kind of have them hold that position, that extension position. It's an isometric contraction for the lower back. So regular workout with a handful of multi-joint exercises for the elderly, and then maybe a McKenzie exercise at the end is all you need. You'll notice, I've had people not even to do the lower back extension exercise and the back pain will go away. The lower back extension exercise can help it go away a little faster with a little more directed work, but you don't necessarily need it. Whoa. Have you ever tested for VO2 max? No, because it's a very poor test. SS. I do night shifts and my sleeping sucks because of that, and result, I crave a lot more food. It makes it harder to lose weight, although I'm more skinny fat with some muscle. Okay, so what are you asking me? SS. What would you like to know? You have to, your situation's a little harder, which means you're going to have to put in a little more effort. I can't really provide you a hack or a life hack to dealing with that situation. Unfortunately, your position, you need to put more effort in. You need to try harder and you need to be more disciplined. Life is not fair. Is it normal to feel low libido after completing a HIIT workout? This happens every now and then. Sometimes you over the day. I think you're just tired. I don't think your libido went down. Your libido wouldn't go down on a day-to-day basis like that. I think you're just tired. What are you getting pressured by your girlfriend? Tell her to piss off. Who cares? I don't think libido would. It could change on a day-to-day basis because your psychological state, your mental state, your emotional state, things like that. But it's mostly hormonal, and it's not one workout's not going to have a significant hormonal impact to lower your libido. That might be all in your head. It might be something you're creating in your head. Is there any advantage between being small-boned and large-boned, or vice versa? Well, everybody's got. Small-boned and large-boned is kind of a myth. If you're a bigger human, you have bigger bones. Some people have broader shoulders, broader hips, bigger wrists. I think that's what you mean. Well, people with, good indications like thick wrists, thick shoulders, thick ankles, these people tend to be more mesomorphic. I don't really like that term, but they tend to be a little more mesomorphic and generally easier for people with thicker wrists, shoulders, thicker ankles to add muscle. But I don't have very big wrists and I don't have very big ankles, but I have extremely nice calves and huge muscles. So just because it's an indication, people with these thicker, body measurements that you can have more muscle, doesn't mean that if you have these small measurements you can't, because I've disproven that. Again, there's a huge amount of variation. But when it comes to bodybuilding, believe it or not, smaller joints are better, because the smaller your joints, the bigger your muscles look. It's all about an illusion and proportions. So the advantage of having smaller bones, like smaller wrists, ankles, things like that, or in knee joint, for a bodybuilder or physique competitor, if you can also add some good muscle, it's going to make your physique look more impressive in terms of proportions. But in terms of adding overall mass, people with bigger bones are going to be able to put out more mass. That's just kind of how it is. So those are the advantages and disadvantages of that. Oh, senior, aka old man here. Not so frail of the week. Ready to die. Yeah, I didn't mean to say, So when I think of elderly, that's what I think of. When I think of seniors, I don't personally train them anymore. An 81-year-old client, Doug, who's built like a brick shithouse. The guy, leg pressing like 500 on the MedX, chest pressing 3. When I think of elderly, I think of kind of frail. I think of one of my clients named Karen. She was so weak, and she was only like 65. She wasn't old, but she was older. That's what I'm thinking. So elderly, more frail people, that's the approach. But again, you have to, regardless of age, you need to, adjust, how you break someone into the training based on their physical capacity, their injuries, their motivation, all those things. So, if you're a senior, you're not necessarily frail. I know a lot of seniors who are built. One of my best friend's father, he's built like a little pit bull. Let's see. Do you consider having the period of not failure training, example, at the beginning of a new cycle when you reach a plateau? I don't ever. There's no point in not training to failure, because that's the stimulus. Unless your goal is, if you, for one reason or another, just want to go to the gym and move things around for the psychological benefit, you enjoy it, fine. Or if you want to take a layoff. I know Ellington Darden used to recommend not to fail your workouts, just to keep you on schedule so you don't fall off the wagon and get lazy, but also allow a recovery period for your time. But a layoff every once in a while might be helpful, but I don't think it's necessary. Not to fail your workouts. You don't even necessarily need to go to failure to stimulate muscle growth. It's just, if you go to failure, you can be sure that you provided the optimal stimulus for muscle growth. I've said this a couple times. I'm going to explain it again. So consider you have 100 available muscle fibers. You may only need to recruit and fatigue 70 of them to stimulate muscle growth. Or you may need to recruit and fatigue 80 of them. Or 76, or 58. We don't know the percentage of muscle tissue that needs to be recruited and fatigued in order to a hypertrophic response. We don't know, because it varies between individuals. So whether it's 50x, 70%, 76%, or 80% of available muscle tissue, we don't know the exact percentage, so we fatigue 100%. So we can be sure. Keep getting kicked off here. I don't know what's going on with the service. But if you have average, because if you have, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't have looked this up or researched. A lot of the reason people find high intensity training is because they try everything and nothing seems to really work, and it's generally due to your genetics. So the professional bodybuilders who don't train to failure don't need to. But training to failure is makes you absolutely certain that you have stimulated the threshold for a hypertrophic response. Yay, Hurricane Elsa will not quit. Struggling trying to gain weight, and weight seems to be the same every time. Just did my fit test, and I'm currently 84 kilograms, 187 pounds, 17% body fat, 49% body. So my goal is to put on size over 90 kilograms for 84. Yeah, I think that's how. So, Don Coolio, how old are you? Doesn't make a huge difference, but I'm curious. I don't think your goals are unreachable. 6'1", we're looking at, so 90 kilograms is what? Almost 200 pounds at 6'1". That's doable. I mean, is that doable at 10% body fat? You know, I'm just under 6 feet, 5'11", 210 pounds, and I look massive. So add 2 inches to me. That's big, man. Especially with a low body composition. 26? Nah, you got a lot of time. Yeah, I think you can do it. I think so. 26 years old, 200, yeah. Again, you just got to be really disciplined with the diet. 200 pounds, right now you're 17% body fat. I bet you could be 200 pounds in the low teens. But being 200 pounds, like single digit, that's kind of tough. You're 12% in the past. Yeah, I bet you could be about 12% at that weight. Again, I'd have to like see your physique to kind of determine the genetics. So you're struggling with adding weight. Are you tracking your calories? Try throwing a little more calories in there. Hit adequate protein. You're going to want about, I would say, 150 to 180 grams of protein a day at your size. Start with that, and then I would say shoot for about 3,500 calories a day. I think that would help. And then just, add a little calories here and there. You don't want to put on weight fast. Remember that. You want to put on weight slowly. If you're putting weight on fast, it's like the fat, and you're adding too many calories. But protein first, add a little calories, continue to train really hard, sleep really well. Sleep is huge. I think a lot of people underestimate the importance of sleep. If you want to grow muscle tissue, a significant amount of muscle tissue, you need to be sleeping really well, because that's when I got a massive toothache, so I keep having to take ibuprofen before I go to the dentist in a couple days. So a lot of the muscle tissue repair process takes place when you're sleeping. So if you're not sleeping, your gains are gonna suffer a lot. Not saying that you're not gonna have any gains, but if you want optimal gains, you've got to sleep really well. So focus on that too. Filippo, should I train calves using higher reps, timer, and attention? You can. I kind of do. Yeah, you can. It doesn't really matter. I would imagine calves are, more slow twitch fiber types, I would guess. But it doesn't matter. So the research shows that a huge variety of time under loads is equally effective. You can do 2 minutes, 45 seconds, 5 minutes, whatever you want. Whatever, kind of up to you. Again, if your calves are going to grow, they're going to grow. My calves, when I was younger, I had smaller calves. One thing I've noticed is people who are really fast sprinters have smaller calves. It's kind of weird. But yeah, I had smaller calves, and then I just started training them once a week, just really hard to failure, and now they look sick. They're not small by any means. And I throw it in once. Actually, no, I just throw it in at the end of my leg training session, which is, it's once a week. So yeah, I train calves once a week. Just train them really, really hard. Make them really, 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 really uncomfortable. You should not be walking well after you train your calves. Do it at the very end of the workout. Have you heard the book of Stuart McRobert? Nope, I don't know who that is. SS, increase your protein intake. Yep, that's true, Daniel. He's right. Increase your protein intake. That is correct. Where am I? Let's see. I was trying to figure out traffic here. Okay. I gotta avoid the police. Do you believe in taking breaks every 6 months or once a year? Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that. Giving a little extra time to ensure that you're recovered. Yeah, you're not going to go backwards. It would take to lose muscle tissue. It would probably take at least 6 weeks to begin losing muscle tissue. Your body's not going to lose muscle tissue quickly. It is a good idea every few months just take a week off and just let everything repair. But don't be afraid. So here's the thing, like, if you don't train for a week, you're going to feel smaller. 90% of it is in your head. You just are telling yourself because you've been so conditioned to bodybuilding folklore that you're going to tell yourself you're getting smaller. You're not. The other part is you may have a reduction in sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, which is a temporary swelling of the sarcomere with added sarcoplasm in the tissue. So that might go down a little bit and you might feel smaller, but that even only makes up a small percentage because you can't really increase or decrease the amount of sarcoplasm in a sarcomere without increasing the amount of myofibrils. I know this is getting really nitty-gritty and scientific, but taking a layoff, you're not going to lose muscle tissue. You might lose a little weight. You might lose a little glycogen or something like that, but you're not going to lose muscle tissue. You should take a break every once in a while. I would recommend it. All right. What do you think about 49% muscle? I don't really pay attention to the muscle tissue statistic or percentage. I pay attention to the fat percentage. Honestly, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really look at that number. I look at the weight and the body fat percentage, and that'll give you an indication of how much muscle you got. So whatever percent the muscle is, I don't really care. All right. One thing I noticed, speed limit. One thing I noticed as I get older is the fact I don't sleep as well. What do you think? Yeah, that's weird. I noticed that happens with a lot of people. My father has had sleeping problems forever. And what he did was he got a medical marijuana card and takes like marijuana pills before bed or oil or I don't know. I don't know shit about marijuana or weed or anything. It was never my thing. But yeah, he got a medical marijuana card and he takes something that he gets from the medical marijuana place that helps him sleep. So, if you live in a state where that's possible, I think in New York now it's legal for recreational use, just like Massachusetts, which is weird. I live in Florida and it is legal for medical use and it's pretty easy to get a medical card, but I've heard that works very well. Melatonin works well too, but I hear melatonin can leave you foggy the next day, so I'd be careful with that. So yeah, the medical marijuana stuff or maybe melatonin, but you're going to be better off consulting your doctor on that. So the older you get, generally, the less sleep you need. So if you're 12, 13 years old, you may need 10 hours a night, but if you're 50, I think the average is like 6. 6 is good for most people. I need at least in order to even function, I need 7, but I make sure I get 8. So yeah, you may just need less sleep. It is the same to sleep 7 hours a night to get 5 hours sleep at night, then 2 hours in the middle of the day. You're talking about sleep debt. I have read about this. I just don't remember what the answer to that is. I don't know. There's a guy. So if you want to learn more about sleep, look up. What's his name? Is it Matthew White? Matthew something or something Matthew. He's basically a researcher, doctor, something, and he's been studying sleep his whole life. And I read some things that he put out, and they were really, really cool. Actually, I think I read the book. I just don't remember anything from it. But man, what is his name? I think it's Matthew White. Google Matthew White sleep. He teach you all about that. Intuitively, without any data and a complete opinion, I would say sleeping 5 hours and then sleeping, a 2-hour nap is not as effective as getting it all in at once because of the sleep cycle. Because you have different cycles of sleep. You really want to hit what's called stage 2 REM sleep, which is where a lot of the cellular repair takes place. That's not even when you dream, actually. Stage 2 REM sleep is very short, but you want to reset cycle and be in it as long as possible. So I would say intuitively, no, you probably want to get it all at once. How would you structure a training week for a power lifter? Just a general strength training session, specific powerlifting session Monday, Thursday. Yeah, how would I do that? Yeah. Well, here's the thing with powerlifting. Repetition is the mother of skill. So you need to repeat. You need enough repetition to improve your skill. So they probably want more than just one session practicing the lifts per week. Man, that's tough. They'd probably be better off just not even... I know hit people would go crazy for me saying this, but they're probably better off just sticking with powerlifting. If they want to maximize their performance in powerlifting, they're probably best off only powerlifting, not even doing a separate strength training protocol, because most of their ability to lift heavy weight with powerlifting is going to come from skill. Obviously some strength, but they're going to build strength along the way. Doing only powerlifting is going to make them more prone to injury, but that is the choice they made when they got into powerlifting. You're likely going to get injured. But if you want to be the best powerlifter ever, probably sticking to only powerlifting and then maybe taking an off season where you don't powerlift and just kind of train properly and become more injury resistant. That's how I would do it. I would take an off season, not powerlift at all, become injury resistant, and then slowly work in the deadlift, bench, squat, just for repetition's sake and practice. Matthew Walker, that's it. Yep, look him up. I mean, it's been probably 6-7 years since I read his stuff, so I don't remember any of it. But do you have experience in improving body posture in clients? Since training, probably got a lot more strength. Yeah, the thing about posture is a lot of it is due to bad posture and overuse. What the fuck is that? So slouching forward with their shoulders forward, pressing all the muscle groups. Your posture is going to, for the most part, correct itself. But body positions you're putting yourself in frequently that is resulting in the bad posture. So if you're sitting like this all day, you need to change that, because your body is so efficient that it's going to adapt to leaving your muscles in this position, so it doesn't have to use as much energy to put them in that position. That's why your posture sucks. A lot of times too, posture gets bad because of muscle atrophy. Muscle atrophy in the shoulders, the cervical spine, the spine in general. Can result in slouching. Like, you ever notice old people get shorter? They don't get shorter. Their spine bends, their spine curves, and it's generally due to the atrophy in their muscle tissue, and they become hunched over. So making sure your muscles are as strong as possible is going to improve your posture, but you're also going to want to put yourself consistently and frequently, get in the habit of maintaining good posture throughout the day. That's also very important. So I've had a lot of clients ask me that, and I'll tell them we'll maintain good posture throughout the day, but a lot of people are just lazy and undisciplined, so they don't end up doing it. But if it's for your clients, just assure them that their posture is going to improve over time just from training. All right, does the breakdown sets and assisted reps increase hypertrophy? Nope, not at all. Research has proven that is not true. Set extenders do not result in better hypertrophy if you're properly training to muscle failure. Even so, I think the study, it wasn't even like well-performed intensity or well-performed muscle failure. And with the addition of the extended sets, resulted in no significant improvement in muscle hypertrophy. It's just that Adam Zickerman used to say there are plenty of ways to skin the cat. Meaning you could do these different kinds of rep schemes, but it's all going to lead to the same route. They're just different ways to do it if you want to keep it more interesting and, for a little more variety. But in terms of hypertrophy, nope. It's funny how few things make a huge difference with hypertrophy. You know what makes the biggest difference with hypertrophy? 1, your genetics. 2, your diet. 3, your rest. That's pretty much it. Do you think that more volume, multiple sets, can contribute to a more sarcoplasmic area? No, because you cannot. First of all, volume is not defined by sets. Volume is defined by effort over time or time under load. So again, 5 sets could be accumulation of 50 seconds time under load with really shitty performed repetition. Volume with 1/5 of the sets. So you gotta define volume properly first. But even with that said, it will not. That is a myth that more sets and reps will result in more sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. You cannot have sarcoplasmic hypertrophy without having myofibrillar hypertrophy. If the sarcoplasm grows, myofibrils will multiply as well. You cannot have one without the other. The belief that you can have an increase in the sarcoplasm without an increase in the amount of myofibrils is insane. I don't even know who came up with that, but that's not possible. I think what people are calling sarcoplasmic hypertrophy is that if they're training more frequently, they're pumping more blood into their tissue more frequently, and they're feeling pumped more frequently, and I think that's what they think is sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. But sarcoplasmic hypertrophy is a myth. I think that Jacob Wilson, that jerk research. Man, Jacob Wilson is like 10 minutes down the street from me. He's this, at University of Tampa, he's this exercise researcher that comes out with all this bullshit. I'm going to be meeting Ben Pakulski in 2 weeks too. He's right around the corner from me. He's one of those more scientific bodybuilders, and I'm going to basically tell him a bunch of ways he's wrong too. Blah, 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 blah. People who know what they are talking about are compelled to tell you. See a doctor. Doctors have a monopoly. Yeah, the whole doctor thing, that's called the appeal to authority fallacy. Just because someone is a medical doctor, basically everything they say should be taken as fact and gospel. It's not true. My doctor, about two years ago, I was going for the physical, and he would say, my blood pressure would be high. And he was like, well, first of all, he would look at the BMI, the body mass index, and he would like, well, it looks like you're overweight, but I think it's because you have a lot of muscle. I'd look at him like, dude, look at me. No shit. Like, no body fat. And then he'd take my blood pressure and say my blood pressure is high. And he'd say, do you do cardio? And I say, no. And he would tell me to do more cardio. And rather than get into it with him, because I knew he was wrong, because it's just wrong, the problem was he was using a blood pressure cuff that was too small. So another client of mine is a surgeon, and I told him this. I was like, I got my blood pressure taken, and it was high. I'm like, that's impossible. He's like, yeah, it's impossible. He's like, what size cuff did you use? I'm like, I don't know. He goes, okay, well, next time go in there, tell him to use the large cuff. Sure enough, the time after I went in there, he used a large cuff, and voila, my blood pressure is normal. So just because a doctor says something doesn't mean they're right. Also, this particular doctor told me to do more cardio. I don't know if he remembered or not telling me to do this. I told him no 2 or 3 times he asked me. Told him no. Last time I went in there, I would say about, I don't know, 6 to 8 months ago, he's listening to my lungs. He goes, your lungs sound better than any lungs I've ever heard. Are you a runner? No. Are you a swimmer? No. Do you do marathons? No. He said, what do you do? I said, I work out a couple times a week for, just quick resistance training workouts. Couldn't believe it. He thought I was an endurance athlete based on how my lungs sounded. Meanwhile, a couple years later, he was telling me to do more cardio because of his measurement error of my blood pressure. So when it comes to doctors, tell them to fuck off. That's all I gotta say. What type of routine or split do you like for a 35-year-old bodybuilder? Muscles are a lot bigger since you know. What type of routine or split? I mean, well, it's easy. Address all the major muscle groups with the volume and frequency that you can recover from and adapt to. If you're a bodybuilder, you're probably better off doing a split routine. Kind of like I do. I do an upper body split. I wait 2 days. I do a lower body split. I wait 2 days. I do the upper. I wait 2 days. I do the lower. I just keep doing that. But as for a specific routine, doesn't matter. Just address all the major muscle groups, all the major pushing muscle groups, all the major pulling muscle groups, the hips and thigh. YouTube's kicking me off. So my routine, for instance, if you want to use mine, you can, it's fine. It's, just adjust what you can tolerate. I'll start off with a chest press or a chest fly. Sometimes I'll even do the old Mike Mentor thing where I'll do like an incline chest press. Hold on, guys. I think the service is bad here. Hold on. That's what my car says. My car says it's good. Alright, I'm gonna try this again. So my routine is a chest press or fly, vertical pull, chin up, pull down, pull over, overhead press, deltoid raise, something like that. Then a row, biceps, triceps, forearms. That's the whole upper body workout. Lower body, leg press or squat, leg extension, leg curl, calf raises. The whole thing. It's not that complicated. It's not like I have some kind of special routine. The most boring one ever. What do you think of walking while carrying heavy dumbbells? For what? That's a completely useless exercise. Dumbbells. I mean, while it involves a lot of muscle tissue, it doesn't effectively work any of them. I don't know. The whole point is when you're choosing an exercise, you want to address the target muscle area. You want to identify its function, and then you want to provide meaningful load to it for aggressive fatigue. Walking with dumbbells is just dumb. There's no point. I'm curious if the body can adapt to other signals like high intensity of walking barefoot, build hard skin, or something that can train mind like this. Your body adapts to pretty much everything to a certain degree. I mean, it's not gonna like get super good at everything, but yeah. I mean, just like, oh, you mean like putting yourself through muscular discomfort enough to where it bothers you less? Yeah, that's tolerance. Definitely, you can adjust to tolerance. That's why if you put yourself in uncomfortable situations, with training, whatever, you're going to get more used. You're going to become more comfortable being uncomfortable. That's a problem the whole snowflake generation has these days. Is they have no tolerance of discomfort. So anything you can do to be uncomfortable, to a certain degree, is usually a good thing. I do that kind of stuff all the time. Like back when I used to live in a state that had snow, I used to just not wear a jacket on purpose to get used to the cold. Things like that. Don't always avoid discomfort. Discomfort in almost every aspect of life stimulates growth in one way or another. Intellectually, emotionally, physically, whatever. So don't avoid discomfort. I mean, I dealt with the discomfort enough, and then I got the frick out of there. But, all right. Let's see. Is reaching failure under control more important than moving up in weight? Yes, absolutely. People need to stop being concerned with moving up in weight. You don't need to move up in weight. You also don't need to move up in weight to progress. Your ability to move up in weight is going to drop off pretty drastically at a certain point, and then people start panicking and switching up a bunch of things because they're not able to do more weight every single workout. That's crazy. Don't worry about the weight. Record the weight used, train to failure, record the time or the reps, and then when it's time to add resistance, add it. Don't get too caught up in trying to add resistance as fast as possible. It's one thing the HIIT community is so annoying with. You train the neck. What kind of exercises? No, I don't train the neck. Mostly because I'm not in a contact sport anymore. Also, I have a huge neck. But if you're in a contact sport or any sort of combat sport, you should train the neck. Also, if you don't have like an unusually thick muscular neck, yeah, throw in the exercises for it. If you don't have a neck extension flexion machine, honestly, that's something you'd have to ask Drew Bay or even like Mark Asanovich. I don't know much about training the neck other than using a machine, so I can't really help you there. Alright, some workouts, one body part will regress just a small bit, but still hitting total failure, and the other lifts are going up. Yeah, just, keep doing it, but if over time they continue to regress, then your volume's too high. What pre-workout fruits or food do you recommend to not feel low energy when going to the gym? One banana doesn't help. What have I been doing lately? Lately, I've been doing a scoop of creatine and a Cliff Bar. Cliff Bars have 30, 40 grams of carbs, 250. Oh, shit. 250 calories. Hold on one second, guys. I'm going to have to end this live stream.